Welcome to another lecture of computer network. Now we'll see in this lecture we'll see the casting methods, which is unicast and broadcast, and we will further see the limited broadcast and directed broadcast. Okay, so first of all we will start with sending a packet from host one to another. This is known as casting. So how to send a packet from host 1 to another host, this is known as casting. And the casting can be unicasting. I can simply write unicast, and can be multicast, or can be broadcast. So if I talk about the unicast, here there is one more thing is multicast. This broadcast can be further divided in two sections, which is limited broadcasting and directed broadcasting. So now if we discuss the method of unicast, let's say we have two networks. One is network X, another one is network Y. This is a machine which is resided on the network X. Let's say it is having the IP address 11.1.2.3, and it is a the IP address of the network would be 11.0.0.0. Now this machine is actually sending the packet from from this machine of network X to the machine 20.1.2.3. This is network Y is nothing but having the IP of 20.0.0.0. So this is what the unicasting is, where we have in the unicast we have the data, and over it we have source IP address, and we have destination IP address. So this method is known as unicast. That means from a single source to a single destination. This is what the unicast means. Here one thing to note here is whenever I have all the zero in the HID part, which is host ID part, as we have seen in the IP addressing scheme, that it is a 32-bit address, logical address, which is divided into host ID part and network ID part. So if there are all zeros, okay, in the host ID part, it would be the IP address of the network. As you can see over here, it is here 11.0.0.0, where these 11, or you can say the first octet, is the network ID part. So you can see over here, it is nothing but a class A address. If it is a class full address, over here we assume over here that it is a class full address. So in that case, this is a class A address which is having 8-bit of network ID and then 24-bit of host ID. So for the IP address of network X, all the host ID part will be 0. And similarly, for the network Y, we have the IP address 20.0.0.0 for the uh, IP address of network Y. Now, multicast, we have discussed the concept of multicast, that it is something which is, sending the data within a specific group. Okay, so it is not the broadcast. In the broadcast, whosoever the host is connected in the network is the information is going to send, and that is called we called as broadcast. But in case of multicast, we have certain groups to which only limited number of hosts are there, and we are sending the same information to all in the within the group. That is what the multicast mean. And the broadcast, it is something, let's see, if I discuss the broadcast over here, let's say this is the machine which is 11.1.2.3. This is the network X 11.0.0.0, and this machine is sending the packets to all the other hosts present over here. This concept is called as limited broadcasting. That is broadcast within the same network. So you can see over here it is a class A address, and that is we can say it, there are 2 raised to power 24, or in other word there would be approximate 16 million hosts to send data to all hosts one by one. Then it would be a complex task. So you can see over here, let's say if the same information we want to send to all the hosts present in this network X, this is the network X. So you can see by looking at this IP address of this network X, that we have these 24 bits reserved for the host part, and that means there are in total there are 16 million hosts. And if we send the same information, if you want to send to all the hosts, it is wise that we send them all in a single shot, rather sending all the hosts one by one. Oh, okay. Then it would be, taking a uh, um, lot of you can say the bandwidth of the network, and also it would be a time-taking concept. So here the concept of limited broadcasting comes, which says the broadcast within the same network. In this case, we have the data, the source IP address. The source IP address is nothing but the 11.1.2.3, and destination IP address में आपका जो जाएगा वो होगा all ones 255.255.255.255. Okay, so this is the the structure of packet for limited broadcasting. So we can see over here that the limited broadcasting address is nothing but 255.255.255.255. So whenever we see this IP address in the destination part, that means that packet is needs to be broadcast to each host within the network, and this IP address is known as the IP address of limited broadcasting. Now we will see the directed broadcasting. So let's say if we want to communicate between the networks, again I'm taking the same example from network X, and within the network Y, which is 20.0.0.0, I just wanted to send the packet to all the hosts present in network Y. That is a concept it is known as directed broadcasting. So in case of directed broadcasting, the packet would be look like as below. That is the data in place of source IP address. We have 11.1.2.3, while in case of destination IP address, we have 20 is for this network, so 20.255.255.255. Okay, so this destination IP address you can see over here is nothing but the IP address of directed broadcasting, or you can say the IP address of broadcasting IP address of network Y if you want to broadcast in the network Y. Okay, so that is what the IP address of directed broadcasting. Okay, so here you can see, if I simplify it, IP address of directed broadcast, that is nothing but the network ID. You can take the network ID as it is, like here it is 20 over here, so network ID as it is plus all ones in the host ID part. So you can see over here the network ID is 20, and by putting all ones in the rest of 24 bits, we will got the 255.255.255. So this is what the IP address of directed broadcasting, and IP address of network will be network ID as it is plus all zeros in host ID part. So likewise, if we have the network ID 20 and putting all zeros in the network ID, that is 0.0.0, okay. So this 20.0.0.0 will give you the IP address of the network. So in every class, two IP addresses never been used, which are number one, when all host IDs part are zeros, filled with zeros, because that will be a IP address of the network. And further, when all host ID part are 1, okay, because that is the IP address of directed broadcast address. So now we see some, the concept of limited broadcasting and directed broadcasting with the help of some example. So let's say we have this IP addresses. This is the network ID. This is directed broadcast address. And this is limited broadcast address. So let's say we have an IP address 1.2.3.4. So you can see, if you want to calculate the network ID, okay, in case of network ID, there would be IP address of network ID. If you can say the IP address of network, that would be nothing but the network ID as it is, and all host part are 0. So that is nothing but, here you can see it is a class A address, and in the class A we have 8 bits for, or you can say the first octet, or you can say the first octet for the network ID part. Okay, so here the network ID part as it is, and the rest of host part will be replaced by 0. So this is what the IP address of network. Similarly, if we talk about the directed broadcast address, in the directed broadcast address, we have the network ID part as it is, and in place of host ID part, we have all ones, which is .255.255.255. And as far as the limited broadcasting is concerned, that would be 255.255.255.255. So when this host 1.2.3.4 wants to send the information or the data within the network, then we will use the destination IP address as 255.255.255. Let's take one more example, which is 10.15.20.60. Just by looking at the range from here, it is also a class A address. That means only first 8 bit is nothing but the network ID, and rest are the host ID. So this is what the you know if you want to calculate the IP address of the network, that would be nothing but 10.0.0.0. Similarly, if you want to calculate the directed broadcasting address, then the host network ID is as it is, which is 10.255.255.255. That is putting all ones in place of host ID part. Similarly, if you talk about the limited broadcasting address, that would be same 255.255.255.255. Let's take another example. Now we will take the example from the class B. Let's take 130.1.2.3. So in case of class B, we have 2 octets for the network ID. Okay, and then for that we have to keep the network ID as it is. So 130.1 dot, rest are, if I putting all zeros, that would be net IP address of network, which is this, and if I put all the ones, that would be 130.1.255.255. And for the limited broadcast address, it is same 255.255.255.255. Similarly, let's take one more example. Let's say 150.0.1 dot, or you can say again 150.150. Let's say this is the example. Now again, as because 150 is the IP address from the class B, you can see by looking at the first octet and find the range. You already know that the range of class A is 1 to 127, and class B is 128 to 191. So as because 150 is there in the first octet, this will be a class B address, and in the class B we have 16 network IDs and 16 host ID. So here we are keeping the network ID as it is, which is 150.0, and then by putting all zeros in the host ID part will give me the IP address of the network. Similarly, 150.0.255.255. This would be the directed broadcasting address, and similarly, you can find out because limited broadcasting address, which is 255.255.255.255. Let us take the example from the class C, which is 200.1.2.3. As because it is class C address, there would be 24 network ID part. So keeping network IT as it is 200.1.2. And this can be filled by all zeros, then this would be the network. And here you can see it is 200.1.2.255. That would be directed broadcast address. And this is where this will remain the same, which is 255.250.255.255. Let us take one more example. Let's say 220.115.1.10. Let's say this is another example. Again, this belongs to the class C, and first 24 bits would be the network ID. So keep the network ID as it is, and by putting all the zeros in the host part, we got the IP address of network, and by putting all the ones in the network part, we got the IP address, directed broadcast address. And this will remain the same. In the further example, we can see, let's say we have IP address 250.0.1.2, and for this, we have seen that the range of class C also, the from 192 to 223. So that means 250 is out of range from the C, and it comes under the class D, which is not for this purpose. There is no concept of network ID and host ID in the uh, class D and class E. Class D is used for the multicasting in a group, and the class E is used for the some special purposes or research purposes. So here you can see there is no IP address of network possible, and further this won't be valid for this IP address. Similarly, let's say one more example. Let's say we have 300.1.2.3. In this case, you can see that this IP address even is not a valid IP address, because the maximum range that can be possible in one octet is uh, 255. Okay, and where, so 300 cannot be a possible range, possible number. Okay, so this is the wrong, and again no possible. So this is what the general concept of broadcasting. Now we'll see in the further section, we'll see the subnetting and the rest of things related to the network layer. Thank you.